It's hard to believe that just 6 months ago, I thought I was on the verge of marrying the love of my life. Let's call her Jessica. We'd been together for 3 years, and for most of that time, she was my biggest supporter, or so I thought. What I didn't realize was that her support came with unspoken limits that I crossed the moment I started to outshine her professionally. It all began when I landed my dream job as a marketing director for a mid-sized tech firm. The position came with a significant pay bump, nearly double what I was earning at my previous job. Jessica initially seemed happy for me. She celebrated with me, toasted to my success, and even helped me pick out a new suit for my first day. But looking back, there were cracks in her enthusiasm even then. She'd make offhand comments like, "Don't let this new job change you," or "Just remember, money isn't everything." At first, I brushed it off. I thought she was just trying to keep me grounded. But as weeks turned into months, her demeanor shifted. She'd get annoyed when I worked late or had to attend networking events. If I talked about a successful campaign or a new project I was excited about, she'd roll her eyes or change the subject. The more I achieved, the more distant she became. The tension reached a boiling point one evening when I came home with some great news. I'd been offered a significant bonus for exceeding our quarterly goals. I expected Jessica to be happy for me, but instead, she seemed angry. She muttered something about how it must be nice to get handed everything and stormed off to our bedroom. Later that night, we had a heated argument. Jessica accused me of leaving her behind and said she felt like she was living in my shadow. I tried to reassure her, explaining that my success didn't diminish hers, but she wasn't having it. She claimed that I was making her feel inadequate and even suggested that I'd changed since starting my new job. The next morning, Jessica was unusually sweet. She apologized for the argument and said she wanted to make it up to me by taking me out to dinner that weekend. I thought we were on the road to patching things up, but little did I know she had other plans. About a week later, I was called into a meeting with HR. They informed me that someone had anonymously reported me for unethical conduct. The allegations were completely baseless, but they were serious enough to warrant an investigation. Over the next few weeks, my work environment became unbearable. Colleagues I'd been friendly with started avoiding me, and my boss began scrutinizing my every move. Eventually, the stress took its toll. Despite my innocence, the company decided to terminate my contract, citing the disruption caused by the allegations. I was devastated. I'd worked so hard to get to where I was, and it was all gone in an instant. In the aftermath of my firing, I was a wreck. Jessica initially seemed supportive, telling me that everything happens for a reason and that we'd get through it together. But her mask slipped one night when she'd had a bit too much wine. She let it slip that she'd been the one to report me to HR. "I didn't think they'd actually fire you," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I just wanted to level the playing field." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The woman I'd planned to spend my life with had sabotaged my career out of jealousy. I was furious, heartbroken, and utterly betrayed. That night, I packed a bag and left. I stayed with a friend while I figured out my next steps. Being unemployed was a humbling experience, but it also gave me the time to reflect and regroup. I updated my resume, reached out to my professional network, and started applying for new positions. Within 2 months, I landed an even better job, this time as a senior marketing strategist for a Fortune 500 company. The pay was incredible, the benefits were top-notch, and the opportunities for growth were limitless. Meanwhile, Jessica tried to reach out multiple times, apologizing and begging for another chance. She even went as far as showing up at my new apartment uninvited. But there was no going back. Her betrayal had cut too deep, and I knew I deserved better. Looking back, I'm grateful for what happened, as strange as that sounds. Jessica's actions, as painful as they were, forced me to reevaluate my life and priorities. I realized the importance of being with someone who genuinely supports and celebrates your successes, rather than feeling threatened by them. Now, I'm thriving in my new role, surrounded by a supportive team and enjoying a level of professional fulfillment I'd only dreamed of before. And as for Jessica, last I heard, she'd moved to another city. I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for, but I've moved on. Sometimes, life has a funny way of redirecting you to where you're meant to be. And in my case, losing Jessica and my old job turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me.